My name is Margot Hastings. I'm 42 years old, and I'm lying on a mountain ledge with my 7-year-old son beneath me, both of us bleeding, while my mother and sister search for our bodies 20 feet above. Pain shoots through my left leg where bone pushes through torn skin. Kieran's small body trembles under mine, his face pressed into my jacket. Blood runs warm down my temple, dripping onto the granite beneath us. I press my hand over his mouth. His eyes go wide. Quiet, I mouth. Don't move. Above us, gravel crunches. Footsteps. 2 sets, moving slowly along the ridge. Did you see them hit? Felicity's voice carries down through the pine branches. My sister, my baby sister who used to sleep in my bed during thunderstorms. They went over. Mom sounds breathless, almost excited. I don't see how anyone survives that fall. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. My heart hammers against Kieran's back. He's shaking harder now, understanding without words that something terrible has happened, something worse than the fall. We should call for help. Felicity again. Her voice wavers, but there's something underneath it. Something that makes my stomach twist. And say what? Mom's tone sharpens. That our daughter and grandson fell during a tragic hiking accident? That we tried to grab them but couldn't reach in time? The silence that follows feels like ice water in my veins. The inheritance goes to Kieran if Margot dies. Felicity speaks slowly, carefully, like she's working through a math problem. And if Kieran dies too, it reverts to me as next of kin. Mom finishes the thought. Her voice holds the same practical tone she used planning Dad's funeral. Everything your father should have left us in the first place. I stop breathing. Kieran's tears soak through my shirt, but he stays silent, frozen against me. We need to be sure, Felicity says. The footsteps move again, searching, looking for a way down to where we lie broken and bleeding, looking for a way to finish what they started. 3 years ago, I sat in a lawyer's office with my family and watched everything shatter. The conference room smelled like leather and old paper. Mom sat across from me, her hands folded on the mahogany table. Felicity beside her, 25 years old and crying before the lawyer even opened the folder. Dad had been gone 2 weeks. Heart attack at 63, sudden and brutal. We'd buried him on a Tuesday. On Thursday, his attorney called us in. Your father updated his will 6 months ago, the lawyer said. He slid documents across the table. He left specific instructions. The hardware store went to me, the one Dad built from nothing over 30 years, the one that employed half our small Montana town. The property, too, 8 acres with mountain views. The investment accounts, his vintage car collection. Every single asset flowed to me with one condition written in Dad's own hand: manage it, grow it, protect it for Kieran's future. Mom's face went white. This can't be right. I have psychiatric evaluations. The lawyer pulled out more papers, statements from his physician. Your husband was completely lucid when he made these changes. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was sick, Felicity whispered. He must have been confused. He wasn't. The lawyer's voice stayed gentle but firm. I'm sorry. I tried to speak. Tried to say I'd share everything, that money didn't matter, that family came first. But Mom stood so fast her chair fell backward. You'll regret this, Margot. Her words cut like glass. Family should mean more than money. She walked out. Felicity followed. Neither looked back. I called Mom every week for 6 months, left voicemails that went unanswered, sent letters that came back unopened, with return to sender scrawled across the envelopes in handwriting I didn't recognize. Felicity blocked my number, blocked me on every social media platform. When I showed up at her apartment, she wouldn't open the door, just shouted through it that I'd destroyed our family, that Dad had clearly lost his mind, that I should be ashamed. Kieran was 4 then. He kept asking about Grandma, about Auntie Fliss who used to bring him chocolate and play dinosaurs on the living room floor. They're busy right now, I told him. Lied to him, they'll visit soon. But months became a year. A year became 2. I stopped calling, stopped writing, stopped hoping they'd answer. I threw myself into the business instead, learned inventory systems and vendor contracts, hired good people, expanded into 3 neighboring towns. Dad had left me a test and a responsibility, and I wasn't going to fail either one. Kieran's 5th birthday came and went without a card from his grandmother. his sixth, his seventh. The silence hardened into something permanent, something I told myself I'd accepted. Then, 2 weeks ago, my phone rang at midnight. Mom's name lit up the screen. I stared at it for 3 rings, my thumb hovering over the reject button. Every instinct screamed to let it go to voicemail. I answered, "Margot?" Her voice sounded different, softer, older somehow. "Please don't hang up." I sat up in bed, heart pounding. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, everything's wrong. She took a shaky breath. "I've been seeing a therapist, working through everything that happened after your father died." I didn't speak, couldn't. "Grief made me irrational," Mom continued. "Made me blame you for something that wasn't your fault. Dad knew what he was doing. My therapist helped me understand that. He saw something in you. Responsibility, business sense, a future for Kieran. I should have seen it too." My throat tightened. "I miss my grandson." Her voice cracked. "I miss you. Felicity misses you too. She's been afraid to call. Scared you won't forgive her, but she wants to make things right." 3 years of silence. 3 years of Kieran asking why his grandmother didn't love him anymore. 3 years of carrying grief and guilt like stones in my chest. "I want to believe you," I whispered. "Then let me prove it. Let us prove it." She paused. "There's this hiking trail near Glacier. Beautiful views, peaceful. Just the four of us. No pressure, just family. A fresh start." I should have said no. Should have asked more questions. Should have wondered why now, why this way, why a remote mountain trail instead of coffee at a neutral restaurant. But I wanted my mother back. Wanted Kieran to know his grandmother. Wanted to believe that 3 years of pain could heal with one phone call and a sincere apology. "Okay," I said. "When?" "Saturday. I'll text you the trailhead location." "Margot, thank you. You won't regret this." But standing here with my son's blood on my hands and my mother plotting my death above us, I understood exactly what I'd regret. Saturday morning dawned clear and cold. I dressed Kieran in layers, packed water and snacks, triple-checked my first aid kit. My hands shook as I tied his hiking boots. "You nervous, Mom?" He looked up at me with Dad's eyes. "Excited," I lied. "It's been a long time since we saw Grandma." The trailhead parking lot was empty except for Mom's SUV. She stood beside it with Felicity, both wearing matching hiking gear that looked brand new. Store tags probably cut off that morning. "Margot!" Mom pulled me into a hug that felt stiff, rehearsed. Her hands pressed against my shoulder blades for just a moment too long. "Hi, Mom." Felicity hugged me next. She smelled like expensive perfume, not sweat and trail dust. "I'm so glad you came." Kieran hung back, shy around the grandmother he barely remembered. Mom crouched down, holding out her arms. "Come here, sweetheart, let Grandma see how big you've gotten." He went to her, let her hug him, but his eyes found mine over her shoulder, uncertain. We started up the trail. The conversation stayed surface level. Weather, Kieran's school, the hardware store. Nothing real, nothing that acknowledged. 3 years of silence. I watched them instead. Watched how Mom and Felicity kept exchanging glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Watched how they positioned themselves, Mom in front, Felicity behind me, boxing me in on the narrow path. "There's an incredible overlook about 2 miles up," Mom said. "The view's worth the climb." The trail got steeper, narrower. Granite walls rose on our left. On our right, the mountain dropped away into nothing. Through gaps in the trees, I could see the valley floor hundreds of feet below. Kieran ran ahead, his small legs eating up the distance. He'd always been fearless. "Careful," I called. "Stay on the path." "Let him explore," Mom said. "You worry too much, Margot. Always have." There it was. That edge in her voice. The same disappointed tone from my childhood whenever I chose homework over parties, safety over adventure. Felicity touched my elbow. She didn't mean it like that, but she did. We both knew it. The path widened slightly where it curved around a boulder. Mom stopped. "The overlook's just ahead. It's a bit steep, though. Think you can handle it, Margot?" The challenge hung between us. I felt something shift in my gut, some ancient warning system firing. "Of course," I said. We moved forward into narrowness and danger. The trail pinched down to less than 3 feet wide. Granite wall on my left, sheer drop on my right. Below, I could see treetops and boulders, the glint of water, 200 feet down, maybe more. Kieran stood at a spot where the path jutted out slightly. He pointed at a hawk circling below us. "Mom, look, it's flying under us." I moved toward him. Mom stepped to my left side, Felicity to my right. Their bodies pressed close in the confined space. Too close. Beautiful view, Mom said. Her hand rested on my shoulder blade. Light pressure, almost gentle. Warning bells screamed in my head, but I couldn't name why. Couldn't articulate what felt wrong about my mother's touch, my sister's breathing, the way they'd positioned themselves. Then I saw Felicity's hand move. Her arm extended toward Kieran's back, palm open, fingers spread. Everything slowed. My body moved before my brain caught up. I lunged for my son, grabbed the back of his jacket. Felicity's hand connected with his chest, shoved hard. Kieran stumbled backward into me. I caught him, but the momentum sent us both off balance. I twisted, trying to keep us on the trail, trying to pull us away from the edge. Then Mom's hands, both hands, slammed into my back. The ground disappeared. Air rushed past my face. Kieran's scream mixed with my own. I pulled him tight against my chest, wrapped myself around him as branches tore at my clothes. My shoulder hit rock. Pain exploded through my side. My head cracked against something hard. We tumbled through space and brush and agony. I kept my arms locked around Kieran, kept my body between him and the worst of it. We hit a ledge 20 feet down. The impact drove the air from my lungs. Something in my legs snapped with a sound like breaking wood. For a moment, nothing. Just pain and confusion and the taste of copper in my mouth. Then Kieran moved beneath me, coughed, started crying. Shh. I pressed my hand over his mouth, even though moving made stars burst across my vision. Quiet. We have to be quiet. His eyes met mine, wide, terrified, but he understood, went silent except for the tears streaming down his dirty face. Above us, voices echoed off the granite. Did you see them hit? Felicity. Her voice shook but carried something else. Excitement threading through the fear. I don't see how anyone survives that fall. Mom sounded breathless. The drop must be 200 feet. Footsteps moved along the ridge, gravel crunched. They were looking down, trying to see through the pine branches and brush where we lay broken. We should call. For help. Felicity again. The words sounded right, but the tone was wrong. And say what? Mom's voice sharpened. That our daughter and grandson fell during a tragic hiking accident? That we tried to grab them but couldn't reach in time? Silence. The inheritance goes to Kieran if Margot dies, Felicity said slowly. And if Kieran dies too, it reverts to me as next of kin. Mom finished it. Everything your father should have left us in the first place. My vision grayed at the edges. Not from pain, from understanding. This wasn't an accident, this was murder. We need to be sure, Felicity said. More footsteps. They were searching for a way down. I had maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. My hands shook as I checked Kieran. Scrapes covered his arms. His lip bled where he'd bitten it, but his eyes tracked my face. Alert. Aware. We're going to play a game, I whispered directly into his ear. The quiet game. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, stay completely still. Like you're sleeping. Can you do that for me? He nodded. So brave, so small. I pulled out my phone. No signal this deep in the mountains. I tried anyway, fingers leaving bloody smears across the screen. Nothing. I looked at my leg. Bone pushed through torn skin, white against red. Compound fracture. I couldn't walk, couldn't climb, could barely move without screaming. But I could think. I ripped a strip from my shirt, tied it around my leg above the break. The pain nearly made me blah. But I bit down hard on my other hand and stayed conscious. Then I positioned us, made us visible from below, smeared more dirt and blood across our faces, made us look dead. Close your eyes, I told Kieran. Don't open them no matter what. Even if you hear my voice, even if Grandma touches you. Stay still, understand? Will she hurt us? His voice came out so small. Not if she thinks we're already gone. I kissed his forehead, tasted earth and salt and copper. I love you. Whatever happens next, remember I love you more than anything. He squeezed his eyes shut tight. I arranged myself over him protectively. Let my head loll to the side, slowed my breathing to almost nothing, and waited. Their voices reached me first, Mom and Felicity picking their way down the slope, calling our names with false worry that made my stomach turn. Margot, Kieran, can you hear us? Oh God, please be okay. Such good actors, such convincing grief. I see them, Felicity's shout echoed. They're on that ledge. Footsteps rushed closer. I kept my eyes closed, kept my breathing shallow. Let my body stay limp. Gravel scattered as someone dropped to their knees beside me. Margot? Mom's voice, close enough that I felt her breath on my face. Her fingers pressed against my neck, checking for a pulse. I'd learned in wilderness first aid how to slow it, make it faint, almost imperceptible. She's dead, Mom said. Her tone stayed flat. Matter of fact. And Kieran? Felicity H. Back. I heard fear in her voice now. Real fear. Mom shifted. I felt her hand move toward my son. Felt her fingers reaching for his face. Every muscle in my body screamed to move, to fight, to protect him. I stayed dead. Still breathing, Mom said after a moment. Silence. Her hand hovered near Kieran's nose and mouth. I knew what she was thinking, knew what she was calculating, how easy it would be, how quick, just cover his airways for a few minutes. Make it look like he'd suffocated from injuries in the fall. Wait, my voice came out as a rasp. Mom jerked back like I'd burned her. Felicity made a choking sound. I opened my eyes, looked directly at my mother, watched shock drain into something colder, watched her decide whether to help or finish what she'd started, saw the calculation in her eyes as she weighed her options. I need you to know something, I said. Each word cost me, but I kept my voice steady. Before you make your next choice, I need you to understand what you've actually done here. Margot, Mom reached for me, face shifting into false relief. Thank God you're alive. We were so worried. Don't. I held up one bloody hand. Don't touch us. Don't pretend. Don't lie anymore. I heard everything. Felicity stumbled backward. Her face went white. I know what you did, I continued. I heard every word. About the inheritance. About making sure we were both dead. About calling it an accident. Mom's mouth opened, closed. No words came out. Here's what you don't know. I paused. Let it hang there. What Dad never told anyone. What I've been carrying alone for 3 years. Confusion flickered across both their faces. This inheritance you just tried to kill us for? I smiled. Tasted blood. It doesn't exist. What? Felicity's voice cracked. Dad was dying long before the heart attack. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. 6 months to live. The lie came smooth as truth, built on the foundation of their greed. He kept it quiet because he didn't want anyone to suffer watching him fade. But cancer treatment isn't cheap. Especially experimental treatments insurance won't cover. Mom shook her head slowly. The will said. The will was bait. I watched her face. Dad had massive debts, medical bills in the hundreds of thousands. The hardware store, mortgage to pay for treatment. The Montana property, sold 2 years ago. The investment accounts, emptied. The vintage cars, auctioned off one by one. You're lying. But Felicity's voice held no conviction. I can prove it. Every document is in my lawyer's safe. Every receipt, every sale record, every debt notice. I shifted slightly, pain shooting through my leg. And you know what else is there? A letter from me, dated 2 weeks ago, explaining exactly why I was nervous about this reconciliation, why I documented everything, why I told my lawyer if anything happened to me on this trip it wasn't an accident. The color drained from Mom's face. There is no fortune, I said softly. There never was. Just debt and a dying man's test to see who in this family had any heart left. You failed. Mom stood abruptly, her legs shook. This can't. You can't. So now you choose. I pulled Kieran closer. He stayed perfectly still, eyes closed, playing dead like I'd taught him. Help us down this mountain. Call 911. Pray we both survive and a jury believes this was just a terrible accident. I let that sink in. Or finish it. Kill your daughter and grandson for nothing. Inherit a pile of debt and a murder investigation. Spend the rest of your life in prison knowing you destroyed your family for money that never existed. The mountain fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Mom's hand trembled as she pulled out her phone. For a long moment she just stared at it. At me. At Kieran's small form beneath my body. Then she dialed. 911, what's your emergency? Her voice shook as she spoke. Reported the fall, the injuries, the location. She played her part perfectly, the devastated mother frantic and terrified. But when the call ended and we waited for rescue, she wouldn't meet my eyes. Neither would Felicity. They stood apart from us, silent and separate, while I held my son and bled into the mountain dirt. 20 minutes later, voices called from above. Rescue team, real help. They strapped me to a backboard, secured Kieran in a harness, lifted us both up the cliff face with ropes and careful hands while Mom and Felicity hiked down a safer path. At the hospital, police asked questions. Mom stuck to her story: tragic accident, tried to grab us, couldn't reach in time. Her performance was flawless. Years of practice lying to herself, lying to everyone, made lying to the police easy. I could have told the truth, could have explained about the push, the overhead conversation, the attempted murder, could have destroyed them both. Instead, I looked at Kieran sleeping in the bed next to mine, his small hand wrapped around my finger. "It was an accident," I said. The officer raised an eyebrow. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. I want to focus on healing my son, not on blame." He nodded, left. But I saw the doubt in his eyes, saw that he knew something didn't add up. Mom and Felicity came to the hospital once, stood in my doorway looking small and broken. "The store Mom started, the property, is it really all gone?" "Every penny." I met her gaze. Dad died broke and in pain, alone, because the people who should have loved him only loved his money. She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I lied to save your lives," I continued. "There is an inheritance, and you'll never see a cent of it. Not because Dad didn't love you, but because you proved him right about what matters most." Felicity made a sound, almost a sob. "Get out," I said quietly. "Don't call, don't write, don't ever come near my son again." They left. I never saw them again. 6 months later, Kieran asked about Grandma Weil. We ate breakfast. "Is she still mad at us?" "She's dealing with her own stuff, baby. It's not about being mad. Will she ever come back?" I thought about that ledge, about Mom's hand hovering near his face, about how close we came to dying for nothing. "No," I said. "She won't." He nodded, went back to his cereal, and I realized he'd already known, already understood in the way children sometimes do, that some people leave and never return. The hardware store thrived. I opened 2 more locations, hired Kieran as my official assistant on weekends, taught him about inventory and customer service and how to read people's intentions in the spaces between their words. On his 10th birthday, I took him hiking, same mountains, different trail. "Mom." He stood at an overlook looking down at the valley. "Did Grandma really try to hurt us?" I could have lied, protected him from the truth. But he deserved honesty. Yes, because of money, because of what money does to people who let it matter more than love. He thought about that. "That's sad." "It is. But we're okay now, right?" I pulled him close. "We're better than okay. We're safe. We're strong. And we know exactly who we can trust." "Each other," he said. "Always." If you've ever been betrayed by the people who should have protected you, if you've ever discovered that blood doesn't always mean loyalty, if you've ever had to choose between exposing the truth and protecting your peace, you understand that. So, me battles are won by walking away. To anyone fighting their own war with family right now, know this: your worth isn't determined by who stays or who leaves. It's determined by how you rebuild after they're gone. You're stronger than their betrayal. You're wiser than their greed. And your story doesn't end with their chapter. What lesson hit you hardest from this story? And if you were in my shoes on that mountain, what would you have done? There's more to watch. Click the next video on your screen right now and see another powerful story from our channel. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one.